Well, great news about Paul. That's a great story, isn't it? Not only his form, but the contract, and that's terrific.
Yeah, I think the contractual side of it's great reward for effort, and we brought him here on the back of a bit of a wretched run with injury, and obviously the club showed a lot of faith in him, but he's worked extremely hard to get back from that injury, and we were very conservative with his management, and yeah, he's obviously exceeded anyone's expectations in terms of his performance, because really we were just hoping to get him back and playing, but his performance has been fantastic. So I'm personally, as coach, I'm pleased it was a pretty quick negotiation.
It's another big tick for your recruiters, that one, Brad?
Yeah, they've done a terrific job in terms of Marley Williams plays his 100th game this week, and I think we gave up pick 105 for Marley, so he's been a great value pick, and there've been quite a number of them across the course of a few years. But really that's what we pride ourselves on, that we're able to target players that we think will make a difference not only to our side, but we think we can improve them as players as well. So Marley's a great story in that regard, and Paul obviously is too.
Sean Higgins, Brad, hopeful it's just the one game?
Yeah, we think so. Look, and it's a really, I think it's important to tell people that the decision to send him in for surgery was because we were just really concerned that if he couldn't function this week, then he would need the very minor surgery next week. So in effect, it was a huge risk that he'd miss 2 weeks. But having had him in for surgery last night, and he's in on the bike this morning doing a session already, so we're really confident that he'll just miss the 1 week. So that was the prudent thing to do in the end.
I know you would say that you only look 1 week at a time, but it's hard not to look 4 weeks out from the end of the season towards September.
Yeah, it is hard. It's human nature to do that, and players do the calculations along with coaches, supporters and media.
You've been sitting there doing the ladder predictor?
I've been tempted a couple of times, but I think that if I start doing it, then it's very hard for me to tell the players not to do it and focus on on the moment. And that's the great challenge of all professional athletes, that you just have to, with all the noise going on around you and all the permutations and potential outcomes, that you focus on what you need to do. And again, I said post-game, it sounds boring, I understand that, but that's the nature of professional sport, that as soon as you take your eye off the ball, you're going to get burnt.
Jared Wade a chance to return this week?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's been probably ready for a little while, so it's just a matter of, again, we said right from the outset that we'd be very conservative with his rehabilitation, and he's trained well, and we just got to decide when we're comfortable pulling the trigger. I mean, clearly that's got to come at some point. So whether it's this week or next week, we'll sit down and have that discussion post-training.
How much of a weapon can he be in this last month?
Yeah, I think he's shown what he's capable of over a fair period of time. I think even when I coached against Jared, there was no better player fresh off a break. I think we experienced that at North a couple of times when he was playing for Carlton. So, we don't have too many concerns about his ability to come in and play good footy. We've just got to make sure that he's durable and resilient.
Is it frustrating for him, given that he does seem to be ready to go?
Yeah, it is, but he's experienced and he knows his body really well. So even the call not to play against Brisbane in round 11, when he said, look, no, it doesn't feel right, proved to be a really, really smart call, because he could have done a lot more damage had he tried to play that game. So that's the benefit of having a player who's had some injuries, but has got some real experience in knowing when the right time is to come back. Now, there are never any guarantees, but I think he's as well positioned as anyone.
Ben Brown, I imagine, probably welcoming him back more than anyone in the team.
Yeah, and Mason last week. He's Jack Zeebel's been fantastic for us in the forward half this year. But there's no doubt that we would like to get Waite, Brown, Zeebel, Wood all in the same forward line. We think that provides a variety of options, and Ben's clearly one of the dominant key forwards in the comp, but he becomes even better when he's got support.
He's basically playing as a permanent full forward, the skipper. He's kicked 28 goals, 26 this week, but he's been doing a bit of extra work goal kicking with Ben Brown, is that right?
Yeah, he has. I'm not sure that the routine's going to stretch out too far. I think Jack likes to keep it fairly succinct, but if he could kick more like 45 of those shots that he's had, I think he'll do just about anything. But he's a beautiful kick. I mean, I'm never too concerned about guys who are technically very good kicks if they're missing, because it's just a matter of time and making sure their routine's sound. So, and Jack has done some terrific work, not only kicking goals for us, but his competitiveness is second to none in the forward half. So it's all round, it's made us a better team because we've got more competitiveness in the forward line, and we give opportunity to Simpkin, Ahern and Anderson and those guys in the midfield.
There's been some commentary around that yours is the softest draw of all the finals contenders, but that probably doesn't do justice or take into account the evenness of the season.
No, I mean, it's like the start of the year. You look at people's draw and you try and speculate as to who's got an easy draw and who's got a hard draw. And the only evidence you've got is games that were played 6 months ago. And there's a bit of a saying in footy that, a week's a long time in footy. Well, 10 weeks is just it's an eternity. Brisbane are a case in point. We played them round 11 when they hadn't won too many games, and now they've had some really dominant performances. 11-goal win against Carlton. Really got a hold of Hawthorn away from home. So they've beaten Hawthorn twice this year. So they've got real capabilities, and they've got better as the season's gone on. So yeah, we don't. Every game is really important, and I understand as it gets closer to the pointy end of the season that there's more focus on certain games, but you set out to win every game you play, and the competition's set up so well now that every game is a tough game, regardless of what people think from the outside.
As a member of the competition committee, though, would the fixture be less compromised under a different model?
Yeah, I think it's compromised, there's no doubt about that, and it's not even. So how we can continue to work on ways to improve the evenness of the competition and certainly of the fixture to give everyone an equal opportunity is really important. But reality is, while we've got 18 teams and 22 games, I don't think anyone's going to nail that. Plenty have tried, but no one's nailed it yet. But we'll keep trying.
Who comes in to replace Higgins?
There's a lot of potential options depending on. We'll continue to look at the weather up in Brisbane in terms of talls versus smalls. In terms of pure performance, Ben Mackay is an obvious one to come in. He's just been in really good form, and we've been looking for ways to get him into the side. So, if we want to structure up a bit taller in the forward half, we might look at Ben. And other than that, Davies Uniacke went out when it was probably a bit unfair on him to go out, but Will Walker came in and played well. So, there's a multitude of guys.
Speaking of Ben's, how's Ben Jacobs?
Yeah, he's look, whether he plays or not this week, I think it's probably going to be tough for him, because just in terms of the amount of work that he's been able to do, when we took that conscious decision to just completely rest him last week, he'll need to build up before he plays. But we've got a pretty strong feeling that he's turned the corner and that he's not too far away. Unfortunately, we can't put an absolute time frame on it, other than to say we expect him back this year.
Is he struggling away from the training track, like with headaches or anything like that, or is it just when he starts building up?
No, he's actually feeling a lot better. So the day-to-day living is fine. And in fact, James Brayshaw saw him in a cafe in Hampton and rang me and said, "Why isn't he playing? He looks fine." Time's up, guys.
Press conference up.
That's right. I should bring that more often. No, but JB saw him and said, for all intents and purposes, he looks fine, he sounds fine, he feels fine, so why isn't he playing? And that just gives you an idea as to the complexity of these situations, and the thorough testing that goes on elicits a negative response sometimes. So when he's tested, he hasn't quite recovered as well as we would have liked. So it's frustrating because he's right on the verge, but he's just not quite there yet, and we just refuse to play him until he's right.
So in the mix for this week?
Yeah, but I think it's doubtful, just given the amount of... it's Wednesday already and we play Saturday, so he hasn't done much so far this week, so I think he'd be doubtful for this week, but we'll be pushing for next week or the week after.
Can you just expand a bit on what Marley's been able to bring since he came over?
Yeah, he's got that thankless task of playing on the opposition's best small forward every week, and when you look across every team in the competition, regardless of ladder positions, they've all got a pretty dangerous small forward. So we struggled to cover that in the past, and hence why we targeted Marley as a recruit for us, and he's just come in and just done a fantastic job. He's a no-fuss player, really popular member of our group, and just he's a pleasure to coach, because you're setting big tasks and he rises to the occasion every time.
How have you assessed Luke McDonald's season so far, Brad?
Yeah, Luke's sort of, in terms of wanting to build that midfield, Luke's been thrown around a little bit. We still see Luke as he's got a heap of talent, a heap of capability. But in terms of his biggest strength's his biggest weakness at times, because we throw him around because of his versatility, and he can play basically all parts of the ground. But that's been a little bit to his detriment this year because we haven't been able to settle him in one spot. So yeah, it's been a bit of a challenge for him. But I think the next step in his development and his evolution as a player is to be able to adapt to those roles that we throw to him. But you know, his biggest strength is his competitiveness, and you know, everyone, his teammates and coaches love that about him. So while he's bringing that, he's still a really important member of our team.